I am sitting at the long mahogany dinner table, the silver utensils gleaming under the expensive crystal chandelier. My family is gathered for our usual Sunday meal, but the air feels heavier than normal today. My father, Arthur Bennett, sets his wine glass down with a sharp click that makes me jump. He looks me dead in the eye, his expression cold and unyielding. "Natalie, you have two choices in this life," he says, his voice carrying across the silent room. "You can either marry rich or you can stay quiet. That is how things work for people like you." My fork slips from my hand and clatters against the fine china plate, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I feel a sudden tightness in my chest, making it hard to draw a full breath. He doesn't stop there, he continues as if he hasn't just insulted my entire existence. "Women like you don't build anything meaningful, Natalie. You are meant to be a support, not a leader." I look around the table, hoping to see a flash of anger or disagreement from my mother or my brother, but everyone just stares at their food. My father has just reduced my entire life, my dreams, and my future to a simple transaction. Did he really just say that to me? I try to open my mouth to respond, to tell him that he is wrong and that I have my own plans, but my voice shakes before I can even get a word out. The shock of his words is like a physical weight pressing down on my shoulders. Arthur doesn't flinch or look away. In fact, he actually looks disappointed that I am even showing a sign of resistance. He sighs deeply, shaking his head as if I am a difficult child being stubborn about a simple chore. It is the look of a man who believes his word is the ultimate law of the universe. The silence at the table is the worst part. My mother quietly adjusts her napkin, and my brother focuses intensely on his steak. No one stands up for me. No one tells him that he is being cruel or outdated. It is like they have all accepted his vision of the world, and they are waiting for me to fall in line too. I feel a wave of heat wash over my face, a mix of embarrassment and rising fury. I am standing on the edge of a cliff, and my own family is the one pushing me toward the drop. Why does everyone in this room seem to agree with him? As I lie in bed that night, I realize that this isn't actually a new development. It is just the first time he has said it so clearly and so cruelly in front of everyone. I start thinking back to my childhood, my education, and even the friends I was allowed to keep. Every choice I ever made was guided by Arthur's invisible hand. He chose my university because it was prestigious for a young lady. He steered me away from business classes and towards social arts because it would make me a better partner later in life. I feel a cold shiver go down my spine as the truth sinks in. I haven't been living my own life at all. I have been following a script that was written before I was even old enough to read. Every time I thought I was making a decision, he was there in the background, closing doors he didn't want me to walk through. I thought I was free, but I was just a bird in a very expensive, gold-plated cage. I look at the walls of my room and they feel closer than they did yesterday. How long has my life been pre-written by a man who doesn't even know who I really am? The next morning at breakfast, my brother, Leo, is the only one in the kitchen with me. I keep waiting for him to say something about last night. I wait for him to tell me that Dad was just stressed or that he didn't mean it. But Leo just sips his coffee and scrolls through his phone, completely ignoring the tension in the air. He stays quiet the entire time, even when I accidentally drop a spoon and look at him expectantly. His silence is like a heavy curtain falling between us, cutting me off from the only person I thought might understand. That silence confirms everything I feared. By not saying anything, Leo is agreeing with our father. He is signaling that he won't help me and that he won't stand in Arthur's way. He is protected because he is the son, the heir who will eventually take over the Bennett empire. He doesn't have to marry rich or stay quiet, he just has to exist. I feel a sudden, sharp pang of loneliness that is deeper than anything I have felt before. I am standing in the middle of my childhood home, surrounded by people I share blood with, yet I am completely alone. I decide to look into my own finances, thinking that maybe I can just leave and start over. But as I dig through the documents in my small office, I learn something terrifying. My father still controls the vast majority of my inheritance and the business trust that was supposed to be mine when I turned 25. There are clauses and conditions written in legal jargon that basically mean I can't touch the money without his written permission. He has tied my hands with red tape and legal signatures that I didn't even know existed until now. My heart sinks as I realize that my freedom was never fully mine to begin with. He made sure that I would always be dependent on his signature for the things I needed. It isn't just about the money, it is about the power he holds over my ability to make a move. I feel like I'm trying to run a race with my ankles tied together. He knew that one day I might try to rebel, and he prepared for it years in advance. I stare at the papers on my desk, feeling a sense of dread. If he controls my means of survival, how can I ever truly walk away? A few days later, Arthur calls me into his study. He isn't alone. Standing there is Julian Vane, a wealthy investor who is at least 15 years older than me. Julian is known for his aggressive business tactics and his massive real estate portfolio. My father introduces us with a wide, fake smile, suggesting that I should focus on marrying stability, instead of worrying about my little hobbies. He talks about Julian like he is a prize I should be lucky to win, pointing out his success and his strong character, as if he's selling a used car. I can see the glint in Julian's eyes, and it isn't affection. It is the look of a man seeing a potential asset for his collection. My father isn't giving me advice, he is arranging me. He is trying to merge his interests with Julian's, and I am the bridge he intends to use. The way they talk about me while I am standing right there makes my skin crawl. They are discussing my future as if it's a business merger that just needs a final signature. He is trying to sell me off to ensure his own legacy remains secure. He's not my father right now, he's a broker. The following week, Julian Vane sends a bouquet of lilies to the house with a note inviting me to a private dinner at the city's most exclusive restaurant. I look at the flowers and feel a surge of pure defiance. I don't even hesitate. I pick up the phone and call his office, telling his secretary that I will not be attending. I don't give a long excuse or a fake illness. I just say no. It is the first time in my life I have ever flatly refused an opportunity my father set up for me. When Arthur finds out an hour later, his reaction is cold and terrifyingly calm. He doesn't yell or throw things. He just walks into the room, looks at me with narrow eyes, and says, "You'll regret defying reality, Natalie. The world doesn't care about your feelings." His voice is like ice, and I can tell he is already planning his next move to force me back into line. I don't know what he means by reality, but the way he says it makes me feel like he has a trap already set. What kind of reality is he preparing to force upon me? Unknown to Arthur, I have been keeping a secret of my own. For the last year, I have been working on a small tech consulting project on the side. I met a brilliant developer named Caleb during a brief internship, and we started building a platform that helps small businesses manage their logistics more efficiently. We meet in a small, dusty office on the other side of town, far away from the polished world of the Bennetts. I spend my nights answering emails and my mornings reviewing code with Caleb, hidden away from my father's watchful eyes. My quiet life isn't nearly as quiet as Arthur thinks it is. While he thinks I am out shopping or visiting friends, I am actually building the foundation for my own independence. It is exhausting to live this double life, constantly checking over my shoulder to make sure no one sees where I am going, but it is the only thing keeping me sane. Caleb is the only person who knows the real Natalie. In that tiny office, I am not a Bennett heir or a potential wife for Julian Vane. I am a partner. My father thinks I am doing nothing, but I am building a doorway out of his world. One rainy evening, Caleb and I are sitting in our cramped office, surrounded by whiteboards covered in complex diagrams. I am frustrated because a major bug is slowing us down, and I start doubting if we can ever really compete with the big players. Caleb stops what he is doing, looks at me, and says something I will never forget. "Natalie, stop looking at yourself through your father's eyes. You're better than you think you are. You see things in this data that I miss. No one has ever said that to me before. Everyone else has always told me what I can't do." His words hit me like a physical shock. For a second, I feel like I can finally breathe properly, as if a weight has been lifted off my chest. Caleb doesn't see a socialite or a daughter who needs to stay quiet. He sees a strategist and a visionary. For the first time, I start to believe that maybe Arthur is wrong. Maybe I don't need to marry rich to have a meaningful life. Maybe the meaningful things he said I couldn't build are already happening right here in this room. That simple sentence from Caleb changes the way I see myself, and it fuels a fire I didn't know I had. Caleb and I started building even faster after that. We spend late nights fueled by cheap coffee and the thrill of seeing our prototype actually work. We celebrate small wins, like our first beta user signing up or our interface finally running without crashing. Each success, no matter how tiny, feels like a victory against the life Arthur has planned for me. No one in my family knows what I am doing, and I plan to keep it that way for as long as possible. The secrecy adds a layer of excitement to the work, but it also adds a layer of fear. I am living a double life, playing the part of the obedient daughter during the day and the ambitious entrepreneur at night. When I am at home, I keep my head down and my mouth shut, letting Arthur believe he is winning. But inside, I am counting down the days until our project is ready for the world. I feel like I am carrying a hidden treasure that could explode at any moment. The contrast between my two worlds is becoming sharper every day. I'm building a life that my father would hate, and I have never felt more alive. However, Arthur isn't a stupid man. He starts to notice the subtle changes in me. He notices that I don't flinch as much when he speaks. He sees the new confidence in my walk and the way I don't immediately look down at my plate when he insults me. My independence is starting to show, even when I try to hide it. I caught him watching me from across the room, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. He knows that something has shifted, even if he can't put his finger on exactly what it is yet. He starts asking me more questions about where I am going during the day. He checks the mileage on my car and asks my mother if she knows who I've been talking to. The walls of the cage are starting to feel like they are closing in again. I have to be even more careful now. I start taking different routes to the office and leaving my phone at home so he can't track my location. The pressure is mounting, and I know that it is only a matter of time before his curiosity turns into a full-scale investigation. He is watching me closely now, and I am walking on eggshells. The pressure reaches a breaking point when Arthur calls me into his office on a Saturday morning. He doesn't ask this time, he demands. You will attend another dinner with Julian Vane and his family tonight, Natalie. It is an important event for our business alignment, and I will not have you embarrassing me again. He stands behind his massive desk, looking like a king issuing a decree. There is no room for negotiation in his tone. He has made it clear that this isn't optional anymore. My refusal last time was a glitch he intends to fix. I can feel my heart pounding in my ears. I want to say no, but I look at the legal documents on his desk and remember that he still holds the keys to my inheritance. If I push too hard now, he might cut me off before the project is ready to support me. I have to play the game for a little while longer. I nod slowly, keeping my face neutral. I'll be there, Father, I say quietly. He looks satisfied, thinking he has broken my spirit. But as I walk out of the room, I am not thinking about Julian Vane. I am thinking about how to survive this night. I attend the dinner, but I decide to do it on my own terms. If Arthur wants me there as a Bennett daughter, he is going to get a version of me he didn't expect. I don't wear the delicate silk dress he bought for me. Instead, I choose a sharp, dark suit that makes me look more like a CEO than a debutante. I don't spend hours on my hair or makeup. I keep it simple and professional. When I walk into the dining room, Arthur's eyes widen in surprise, and I can see the irritation bubbling under his surface. Throughout the meal, I don't smile on command. When Julian tries to make a joke at my expense, I don't giggle politely, I offer a dry, factual correction. I talk about market trends and economic shifts instead of the social gossip they expect. Arthur notices the difference immediately. He keeps trying to steer the conversation back to softer topics, but I refuse to follow his lead. I can see Julian looking at me with a new kind of intensity, realizing that I am not the quiet girl he was promised. I am making them uncomfortable, and for the first time, I am enjoying it. After dinner, while Arthur is busy talking to Julian's father, Julian corners me in the hallway. He doesn't talk about love or even attraction. He proposes a marriage that is essentially a business alignment. Think about the power we would have together, Natalie. Our families would control the entire region's development, he says, his voice cold and calculating. He talks about our lives as if they are two companies merging to eliminate the competition. He is offering me a contract, not a life. He expects me to see the logic in it. I look at him and see a mirror image of my father. They both think that everything in this world can be bought and sold. They are trying to merge my life like a contract, and they expect me to be grateful for the opportunity to be a silent partner in my own existence. I feel a wave of disgust so strong I have to take a step back. Julian thinks he is being tempting, but he is just confirming why I need to leave. They don't want a wife or a daughter, they want an asset. I realize that if I say yes to this, I will never be Natalie again. I refuse him politely but firmly. I tell him that I am not interested in a merger of that nature. When Arthur hears about it later that night, his expression hardens into something I have never seen before. You're throwing your future away for some romantic nonsense, Natalie, he snarls. You think you can survive out there on your own? You have no idea how the real world works. You need Julian, and you need me. He towers over me, trying to use his height and his voice to intimidate me back into submission. He thinks I still need saving because he has spent my whole life making sure I felt helpless. He thinks his money is the only thing that makes me valuable. I look at him and, for the first time, I don't feel afraid. I feel pity. He is so trapped in his own greed that he can't imagine a life built on anything else. He thinks he is protecting me, but he is just trying to protect his own control. I don't need to be saved, Father, I say calmly. He scoffs, turning his back on me. He thinks he has the last word, but the real power is shifting. The next day, Caleb calls me into the office with a look of pure excitement on his face. He has finished the prototype for the core of our platform. He shows me how it works, and it is beautiful. It is faster, smarter, and more powerful than anything currently on the market. It is something powerful enough to scale globally. As I watch the data move across the screen, I realize that we have actually done it. We have built something that could change an entire industry. We have built our own leverage. Looking at the prototype, I feel a sense of overwhelming pride. We might be building something my father doesn't understand, but that's exactly why it will work. He is focused on real estate and old money contracts, while we are focused on the future of technology. He thinks I am wasting my time, but I am actually building a ladder that will take me far above his reach. I realize that we don't need his trust or his inheritance anymore. If we can get this to market, I will be free. The prototype is my ticket to a life he can't control. But then, the first leak happens. One of the interns at the tech firm where Caleb works part-time mentions our project to a senior partner, who happens to be one of Arthur's golf buddies. Word travels fast in our social circle. Arthur finds out that I am working with Caleb on a secret project, and the news hits our house like a bombshell. I walk into the living room to find him holding a printout of our website's landing page, his face a mask of cold fury. The secret is out, and I can feel the air leaving the room. The confrontation I have been dreading is finally here. He doesn't just look angry, he looks betrayed, as if my desire for independence is a personal attack on him. Who is this Caleb person? And what is this garbage, he demands, throwing the paper onto the coffee table. I can see the veins popping in his neck. He has realized that I have been lying to him for a year, and his need for control is exploding. I stand my ground, but my heart is racing. The quiet war is over, and the real battle is about to begin. Arthur decides to try a different tactic, public shame. A few nights later, at a large family gathering filled with his business associates, he stands up to give a toast. He waits until the room is quiet and then turns his attention to me. I want to toast my daughter, Natalie, he says with a mocking smile. She's decided to waste her time on these little fantasy projects instead of focusing on her real future. I suppose we all need a little hobby to keep us busy, right? Everyone laughs uncomfortably, looking at me with pity. He just tried to break me publicly, using my own dreams as a punchline. He thinks that if he makes me look like a fool in front of our peers, I will come crawling back to him for validation. I can feel the heat of everyone's eyes on me, and for a second, I want to run out of the room. But then I remember the prototype. I remember the data. I remember Caleb telling me I was better than I thought. I don't look down. I don't cry. I just pick up my glass and take a sip, letting his insults slide off me like rain. I said nothing to him that night. I don't argue, and I don't try to defend my work to a room full of people who wouldn't understand it anyway. But what Arthur doesn't know is that while he was busy mocking me, I was busy working. That same night, in the quiet of my room, I signed a major partnership agreement with a national logistics firm that had been testing our beta version. We officially have our first major client, and the contract is worth more than any stability Julian Vane could ever offer me. He has no idea what just changed. He thinks he won the night by making a few jokes, but I won the war by securing my financial future. The partnership gives us the funding we need to launch officially and scale our operations. I look at the digital signature on my screen and feel a sense of triumph so deep it makes my hands shake. I am no longer just a girl with a hobby, I am a business owner with a multi-million-dollar contract. The shift has happened, and Arthur is still living in the past. As the weeks go by, the shift becomes more obvious. Our project gains massive traction, and early investors are starting to flood our inbox with offers. The quiet success I worked so hard for is starting to replace the control my father once had. People in the industry are starting to talk about the Bennett girl not as a socialite, but as a disruptor. I am spending my days in meetings with venture capitalists and my nights planning our global launch. I don't need to ask Arthur for permission for anything anymore. Arthur is starting to notice that people are treating me differently. He sees me getting calls from people he respects, and he sees my name in business journals he reads every morning. The confusion on his face is almost satisfying to watch. He doesn't understand how this happened under his nose. He thought he could keep me small by insulting me, but he only gave me the motivation to grow bigger. Success is the best revenge, and I am tasting it every single day. The world he built around me is starting to feel very small. The turning point comes when Arthur realizes that I am no longer financially dependent on him. He tries to block a small transfer from my trust fund as a lesson in obedience, only to find out that I have already moved my personal accounts to a different bank. He confronts me in the hallway, his face red with frustration. "Where did you get the money for those new accounts, Natalie? Who is giving you this false sense of security?" He still thinks that someone else must be behind my success. He can't wrap his head around me doing it alone. I look at him and realize that his leverage is completely disappearing. He has nothing left to threaten me with. I have my own money, my own company, and my own future. The power dynamic that has defined our relationship for 25 years has been flipped on its head. He looks smaller than he used to, like a man who has lost his map in a place he thought he knew. "I gave it to myself, Father," I say, walking past him. He stands there in silence, the realization finally starting to sink in. One evening, he follows me into the kitchen, his voice tight with anger. "You think you can just ignore me? You think you can build a life without my guidance?" he asks, his hand gripping the back of a chair so hard his knuckles are white. He is desperate now, trying to reclaim the authority he feels slipping away. He wants me to argue with him, to beg for his approval, to show any sign that he still matters in the way he used to. He is fishing for a reaction that I am no longer willing to give. I turn around and reply calmly, "I already have, Father. I've been ignoring your guidance for a year, and it's the best thing I ever did." The silence that follows is the most powerful thing I have ever felt. That moment changes everything. The air between us is different now. He realizes that I am not just a rebellious child, I am an adult who has outgrown him. He looks at me and for the first time, he doesn't see a daughter he can control. He sees a person he doesn't know. The shift is complete. The system Arthur built around me starts to collapse even further when Julian Vane suddenly withdraws his support from their joint real estate venture. Julian has seen my progress and realized that the Bennett name is becoming more associated with my tech success than Arthur's aging business. He doesn't want to be tied to a man who is being outperformed by his own daughter. Julian is a shark, and he follows the blood, and right now, the blood is in Arthur's business. He breaks their contract and walks away, leaving Arthur's company in a tailspin. Arthur is devastated. He spent years building that partnership, and now it has evaporated because of the very hobby he mocked. He realizes that by trying to control me, he accidentally triggered the downfall of his own empire. The irony is almost too much to bear. He sits in his study for hours, surrounded by the ghosts of his old plans. The people he thought were his allies are turning their backs on him, and the daughter he thought he could sell is the only one who is actually thriving. His world is falling apart. In a final act of desperation, Arthur calls me into his office one last time. He looks exhausted, his eyes bloodshot and his suit wrinkled. "Natalie, please," he says, his voice cracking. "Just marry Julian. If you do, he'll come back to the deal. You can fix this. You can save the family business." He is literally begging me to sacrifice my life to save his mistakes. He still thinks that my only value is as a bargaining chip. He wants me to set myself on fire to keep him warm. I look at him and feel a deep sense of finality. I refuse him completely, without a single doubt in my mind. I am not a fix for your problems, Arthur. I am a human being. There is no turning back now. I walked out of that office and out of that house for the last time. I don't take anything with me except my laptop and my car keys. I am leaving the Bennett name and the Bennett drama behind. I am stepping into a world that I built with my own hands, and I am never looking back. Months later, my company is thriving. Caleb and I have moved into a beautiful new office downtown, and we have a team of 30 people working for us. I am happy, I am successful, and for the first time in my life, I am free. Arthur watches from a distance, silent and changed. He reached out once, but I wasn't ready to talk. He needs time to learn who I am, and I need time to enjoy the person I have become. The quiet life he wanted for me is gone. I didn't marry rich, and I certainly didn't stay quiet. I built something better, a life based on my own terms and my own hard work. Every morning, I wake up and realize that I am the author of my own story. The script Arthur wrote for me has been torn up and replaced by something much more meaningful. I am Natalie Bennett, and I am just getting started. I proved that a woman can build something incredible without permission. And that is when everything truly shifted for the better.